Hello, my loves. Welcome back to another episode of Tea Time with TT's podcast, honey. I am your host, TiTi Toya. It has been a while, I know, guys. But as we know, it is very, very ghetto out here in these spiritual streets, and I needed a moment. But tell a friend to tell a friend, she's back. All right, before we get into today's episode, into the title of today's episode, I want to make sure that you stop what you're doing right now. Like, share, and share, subscribe, and comment to this channel so that this family could continue to grow and conversations like this can continue to be had. Okay. Well, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into this clip, honey, that we're going to be speaking about today. Check it out.
I want to say something because we're supposed to be talking about spirituality, the Black church, and mental wealth. I think that it would be remiss of us to not acknowledge that there have been moments within Black church, because that's the only church I've been in. Maybe it happens in white churches. I don't know. It does.
Yep.
Where you were not allowed to bring the truth of who you are into the space. Whether you're like me and you broke some of the church rules, or you just became a disgrace to the dignity of what it means to be a Christian through the lens of religion and the lens of church. I think that we have to take a moment and at least acknowledge, and perhaps for some of you, invite you to look beyond God being held in the hands of man, and maybe challenge you to consider that though man may have dropped you or mishandled you or deformed you in an effort to mold you, that was not a reflection of God's heart towards you. I don't know how much it counts, but I will say that I apologize as a faith leader.
For real.
For the moments where you were told to just pray it away, for the moments where you were told that you're never going to be one of the good girls or the good guys, or you're always going to be damaged. I apologize that you received those messages. And if there's anything that you take away from this moment and this conversation with us, I will say, if you have to bypass the church to get to God, I get it. I get it. We're not here to force you into something that hurts you. But I would just encourage you to not give up on your ability to remain connected with God, because God still wants to be connected to you, that God still wants to show you that mirror of who you are and what he had in mind. And he knew all about you, the things that took your faith leaders, your parents by surprise, and everybody was shocked and act like you was crazy and there was something wrong with you. God knew all of those things and was prepared to walk it out with you.
All right, my loves. All right. So I'm glad you guys stayed this far to watch this clip that we just talked about. So basically what you just witnessed is Sarah Jakes apologizing for the actions or the experience that people have had in the Black church, which I am suspecting is prompted due to the extremely large number of members that have been leaving and maybe going to African spirituality, or just being spiritual in general, or deconstructing from it, or that are speaking out more about the traumas that they've had in the church. And I don't know how to necessarily feel about it. I want you guys to comment down below and let me know if you feel like it was even necessary. And I'm going to just get into it as far as the message that was given to me, because most of the time, if I don't feel like I have something to say, or somebody that I can interview that has something to say, I won't say anything. So before we get into that, I want to just speak on the straight buffoonery that has been happening with spiritual leaders, pastors, and things like that, honey. I was going to get on here a couple of times and go live about it, or just speak about it on the podcast, but I was just like, I mean, it's just so much to unpack. Okay. Reid has been doing some really amazing interviews, one which they did with Vanessa which we had on, I think maybe like either the first or the second episode, no, the second episode or third episode of Tea Time with TT's podcast, where she was speaking about, you know, her need to deconstruct from Christianity and things like that. And she was recently on Larry Reid spoke about her saying that hell was not real, and, you know, and it's just been an uproar about that. And then she was on Carlton Pearson's platform speaking about it as well, which was amazing. I want to congratulate her on all of her blessings and all of her growth and elevation in this walk that she is doing to tell the truth for other people. Also, Carlton Pearson has interviewed another great friend of ours that we interviewed on Tea Time with TT's podcast, which is Dr. Lakara Foster, who is a psychic medium and a minister. So that was really eye-opening as well. And to see a bishop or someone that is a bishop and has a church currently speaking to people about these things has been life-changing, I'm sure, for a lot of people. Of course, there was negativity, you know, and all of that in the comment section, but for the most part, it was a very overwhelmingly positive experience. So again, I want to also congratulate Dr. Lakara Foster for that amazing thing. Excuse me, Bishop Lakara Foster, because she also has been ordained as a bishop recently, which is great. So a lot of other things have been going on. Of course, Larry, you know, Pastor Whitehead, and some people allegedly stating that he staged his robbery, and then seeing the video of him laying hands on a person who was visiting his church and not necessarily doing it in a godly way, and seeing the back and forth with people to say, oh, well, she was doing too much and she was being disruptive. As a 3-time domestic violence survivor, I don't feel like any woman would ever do anything to warrant a man putting their hands on them. So even though she was seemingly disruptive, because I'd also seen an interview that Larry Reid did with her after that. And, you know, she definitely was in a space of coming to air out Bishop Whitehead. But she wasn't necessarily being as disruptive as I would think she is. But again, like I said, I don't feel that it's okay to put your hands on anyone. Okay, she shouldn't have went there with this energy, and he should not have put his hands on her. If you wanted her to leave, sir, you should have escorted her out, or had someone in the church escort her out. You did not have to put hands on her. It does not look to me like she was lunging at your wife, but even if she was, you understand, you still shouldn't put your hands on her. You know, the wife, if she had to lay her out, maybe, but even still, it's just, y'all are people of God, pastors, so you shouldn't be doing any of that. Okay. I grew up Pentecostal, Church of God in Christ. And there was this one lady that would get up in the middle of service and scream and dance and damn near look like she was twerking and walking up towards the pulpit and everything. And my pastor, God rest his soul, Bishop Frank Otha White, right? He didn't put hands on her. You know what I'm saying? He just rebuked her, binded her up. She sat down because he was a real pastor who had real authority in the spirit. She would sit her behind down eventually, and then we got back to church. So it was unnecessary to put your hands on somebody. That's just the way I feel about that. But yeah, a lot of that buffoonery, a lot of Juanita Bynum saying a whole bunch of buffoonery, honey, a whole lot of Kim Burrell, too much Kim Burrell. That's all we're going to say about that. Too much Kim Burrell. So it's just been a lot of nonsense going on. Really, it has. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to speak on any of it because I know from messages that Spirit gave me that this is ordained and this is in divine alignment with what it is that the Creator wants for the true children of God. Okay, the melanated children of God. So, you know, you kind of like sit back, you be quiet, you deal with the energy and things like that. I am a psychic medium, a minister, a Kundalini Reiki master, I just took a master conjurer's course. I've learned I'm now practicing and putting into practice Kemetic spirituality, because now I realize that it is the original spiritual practice before any religions were created. But we'll get into that another time, honey. And I also have gotten DNA tests back, African ancestry back, linking me to ancient Kemet in Egypt, Nubia, and things like that. So, of course, this is the practices of my ancestors, some of my ancestors, that I'm trying to tap into at this time. But while I understand the reason for Mrs. Jake's apology, and I understand the energy that she was trying to convey by saying that does not directly reflect the love of God for you, that God has for you. And while I understand that, and most people tell you, okay, those are people in the church, that's not God, that's not how God feels about you. No, it isn't. But the God that people in religions have taught, or specifically the Black church, because we're not going to go, let's just go there, because you don't see a lot of other religions going off on us about our religion, our spiritual practices or religion. Like, you don't really see them out here on the battlefield like the Christians seem to be, because they are busy defending white Jesus. So the thing is, no, the actions of people in church do not reflect the love that the one true creator has for you. The problem is with religion, every religion has their own version of the energy of the creator. And unfortunately, the Black church's image of the creator is not ours. It's not our ancestral version of the creator. It is not the ones of our ancestors, the ones that were brought over from slavery. They were forced to deal with that energy. That energy has been very violent and vile, right? And the treatment of the people in the Black church is a result of that version of white Jesus and white God. God is not, the creator is not Jesus. And people are praising Jesus and should not be, right? So that's a problem in and of itself. Because if you believe that your God says, have no other gods before me, but y'all praising his son, then you probably need to be concerned about whether or not, you know what I'm saying, you worshiping the right person. Y'all conjure Jesus up all the time and all of this other stuff and strengthen the name, because that's what it is. When you conjure something, you're strengthening and imploring an energy to work on your behalf, right? So now, honestly, Miss Jakes and other people who are Christian, it does reflect the love that God has for melanated people. Because that God was created for slavery. That story was created to make good slaves. That spirituality and that denomination, or that version of God, has you all tied up, has you worshiping the Son who walked the earth, which means that this is not the creator of all things. Why would the creator of all things, okay, be on the ground? If the creator of all things created galaxies and planets and the skies, and by the way, guys, if you're melanated, you have the galaxies and the stars in your DNA. You have the things that the creator of all universes has within them. So the creator, your creator, resides within you. Then she goes on to say that if you got to bypass church to get closer to God, I understand. And to that I say, that is the only way you're going to get to your version or to the correct version of God. It's to bypass the church at this point. And I say this not for any particular reason other than that is not the behavior of man, the creation of the Bible. All of these things are not done by the creator. They say the word of God is in this Bible. God didn't write that. And these people are giving their account of what somebody said. It's been translated over and over again, 80 something times. People keep changing it, taking books out, adding the King James Version is the most wrongly done. There's no mention of hell in the Old Testament. There's no mention of hell in any of the Bibles except for the King James Version. And it's like hundreds of times that it's in there. It's like it's created. The story of hell did not even derive from actual Jesus. It is from Kemetic spirituality. It's not hell in Kemetic spirituality, though. It's the lake of fire. But again, if you want to keep somebody enslaved and you want to keep somebody in a low vibrational energy, you have to have them be afraid of something, because that's the only way that they're going to be subdued, especially if they know that they're powerful. They can't, you got to break them. This is the way that the thinking is. So, yeah, you're right. Bishop J, Sarah Jakes, pastor, because she's probably going to get ordained as a bishop. If she hasn't already, she will be doing that. Mark my words, soon. But that is the only way that anybody that is melanated is going to get closer to the God that their ancestors knew about, or that their ancestors praised and worshiped and loved on and convened with, where they were okay with nature and their spiritual gifts and things like that, because spirit is pushing and the great I am is pushing for that to be so. We are going to get back to our original state and not these spells that have been placed on us in religious institutions. Now, I do not know that it is necessary for the oppressed to apologize for the oppressor. I'm going to say that again. I do not know that it is necessary for the oppressed to apologize for the oppressor. How are you apologizing for something that has been done to you as well, Ms. Jakes? You're not aware of it, so you're apologizing for the actions and you're missing the entire point. The point is that the colonization of African people, or Africa, bringing us over, stripping of us of our language, our religions, our customs, and creating a white Jesus, a Jesus that wants us to be good slaves, a Bible that is telling us that we're going to burn in hell if we don't become a good slave and keep turning the other cheek while we get beaten, raped, and all of this other stuff, right? That is the problem. The apology is not necessary from someone who is also melanated, because you are actually also the one that has been spelled very heavily. So it's not necessary to apologize for something you were a part of being, it's been done with you. It's ingrained in you. This is why you're thinking like this, or why other people are thinking like this. Other people of color are really fighting like this, because you guys don't understand that it is literally a very big spell placed upon you guys. And it is so deeply ingrained that you will smite your own people to defend it. I will say this to anyone that is a pastor, anyone that is a spiritual leader, that is in a religious institute, that I challenge you to go back and do your own research. Don't go to your pastor, because your pastor gonna only tell you as far as the Bible and slavery is concerned. So do your research and find out the origins and the stories of different spiritual practices, or whatever it is that you are practicing. I challenge you all to learn where your spiritual practice and your religion came from. And I mean, go back. Go back and read about Kemet. and ancient Africa and you know, the Ethiopian version of the Bible and things like that. Just go do that. Read about the creation story from, you know, Kemet or Nubia or wherever it is that you can get the information, because a lot of it has been, you know, removed and hidden. But just go and read that and read into different books like Ancient Future and you know, and things like that, Stolen Future and stuff. And just read and sit still long enough to receive the message, right? Like, you know how when you get a Bible and you practice Bible Nancy and you ask God to give you a word or a message based on what it is that you might have read in the Bible, do that for the books that you read about African spirituality and things like that, and the creation story and the 42 laws of Ma'at and the story of the Dua, where, you know, they are going to the afterlife and whether or not it's reincarnation and how they get there, because they actually go to gates. They go through gates. There's pearly gates in Kemetic spirituality. They're not necessarily pearly, but there's a journey. And then they have to stand before judgment, like y'all, you know, get told about in the Bible. Like, I really want you guys to do the research, because it's not that we think you guys are so horrible. You know what I mean? It's not that. It's that the system, the spell, that the putting us against each other has to stop. And it's going to stop one way or the other. So it was not necessary. I'm sure some people are thankful and think it's a great gesture, but it wasn't necessary for you to apologize. You're still in the throes of it. That's not going to bring anybody back to church, honestly. And yes, a lot of people are going to bypass church, even more so than they are right now, in order to go find the God of their creation. And that's on period. It's okay though, but it's just necessary to say that. Like, it was unnecessary for the apology, even though it was with a good heart that she was trying to do it. But it's like, it's you know, that's like me saying somebody, you know, hit one of my friends, punched him dead in the mouth, bang, right? And then I go and I apologize for them hitting them in the mouth. I wasn't even there. I don't know what happened, but I come and I apologize for this person that hit them in the mouth, busted their lip, all of that. And I go and I apologize for them. Would that matter? Like, would that person be like, oh, thank you so much for apologizing for them, it makes it so much better now? No, the person that did the punching needs to be the person to do the apologizing or to do the rectifying of the situation. So we cannot be out here apologizing for colonizers colonizing us. We cannot be out here apologizing for King James and all the bullshit that he put in this Bible that really wasn't even ever discussed. We can't be apologizing for the fact that they made a word up that was not even created until, like, what, the 1500s? Because there was no J in front of it. Even the name Jesus was not the name of even a Kemetic god. It's a derivative of Eusus. I believe that's what it is. So please do the research, and thank you for your apology, but you didn't, you know, do the hitting. And as far as the people that are in church and treating people messed up, that's great, but they need to go and apologize to the person they did something to. Also, it's not even necessarily their fault because it's their own brainwashing. But I will say that the people that are in church that are constantly spelling themselves and getting saved and resaved and unsaved and saved again, backslide and going back and getting saved again, you just respell yourself, darling. This is why it's such a tight grip on y'all. And that's that on that. Now, also, I want to speak about the purpose of deconstruction and decolonization of Christianity. A lot of Christians think that we really hate them, like that we really hate them, and then they come at us with such hatred and just malice, and trying to cast spells on us to go to hell, and trying to speak ill over us in our lives just because we are doing what we have to do to tell the truth. It is not about you. It is about individual walks with God for us, the Creator, for us deconstructing our minds and realizing the parts that was stolen from our people, and also the spells that were placed upon us that have kept us bound. Deconstruction is to just deconstruct the confines and the spells and the negative thinking and the ways of being and the judgmental ways of religion, and finding a different avenue towards God that best suits us. So it's not about Christians. We don't hate you guys. You practice what you practice, but just allow us. I guarantee you, and I challenge whoever this is that might be on here trolling, on TikTok trolling, talking about spiritual people all the time, condemning them to hell. I challenge you to allow them to be on their own journey, and you worry about yours, and I promise you there will be so much peace. There's not any arguing that needs to happen about this, because it's not you. You're not deconstructing. You're not leaving Christianity. You're not leaving spirituality. I mean, us religious practices and leaving being a pastor, right? So why are you so angry at somebody else that chooses to do that? And instead of asking them, where did you get your information from, or how did you learn about that? That's interesting. You commence to trying to attack them, and that's not cool. So I challenge you all, again, to learn, study to show yourself approved. Before you open your mouth, before you judge anybody in their process, we all have a journey to go on separately. And you arguing with people on behalf of Jesus or behalf of church or behalf of all of this other stuff will do nothing to win the souls back of these people. It will do nothing to make them feel bad, because we really don't give a about y'all. Okay. It will do nothing, because Jesus ain't hiring, and neither is the Creator. They don't need no new employees. So I don't know where y'all got this army of the Lord thing from. I'm guessing it's from slavery as well. But anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Please comment down below your views on this situation. Like I said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. Talk to me. Okay. Let me know what your views are on this situation and this episode, guys. I am working diligently behind the scenes to grow in a spiritual manner and in what it is that I do, as well as being able to bring you guys more content that is going to be able to allow you to think, and not just be in the space of being, stuck in this stage right now. We are really going through a great, we've been talking about it for a couple of years, the Great Awakening. No, it's like people are up, and those that are still asleep kind of want to be asleep, or they're not designed to wake up in this time. Shout out to the ones that are awakened and that might be feeling frustration at this time, because they are seeing so much nonsense go on. Try to pray, stay grounded, stay centered, and stay in a positive vibe, and don't let anybody take you out of who you are as a person. I love you guys so much. I'll see you next time. Peace.